It was a moment few Eritreans and Ethiopians had expected to see in their lifetime. Soldiers, once enemies, entered their shared border, opened for the first time in 20 years. Last year's formal peace deal, initiated by Ethiopia's new leader Abiy Ahmed, ended the decades-long military standoff. It also ended Eritrea's years of diplomatic isolation. The UN voted to lift sanctions, and there was hope that one of the world's most secretive countries would open up. But soon after, Eritrea shut its border. President Isaias Afwerki's one-party state continues to govern. Political opposition and independent media are not allowed.
The whole peace process, in the way that it has panned out and in the way that the world is trying to tell us that there's peace in Eritrea, kind of whitewashes or kind of tries to rehabilitate the image of Isaias Afwerki. Is that when Isaias Afwerki hasn't moved an inch, hasn't budged even the slightest.
They are in prison.
Afwerki's jailed thousands of political activists, journalists and rights campaigners. Some of them have been in prison for nearly 20 years. Their whereabouts are unknown.
We haven't seen any signs whatsoever of openings, whether it's in terms of release of high-profile detainees. Since the peace accord, a former Minister of Finance was actually arrested for calling on the government to reform, to implement the constitution. So we are not seeing any steps whatsoever.
In President Isaias Afwerki's restrictive state, young Eritreans are forced to join the military, often serving indefinitely. And that's led to a generation of refugees desperate to escape a system described by activists as nothing short of modern-day slavery.
This system has been in place since the border war with Ethiopia. One of the excuses was that they needed to keep the country on a war footing. Now, in theory, according to the government itself, they have made a peace agreement with the Ethiopian government. And yet we haven't seen any signs of willingness or interest of taking even small steps to reform the system.
Eritrea's location near the Red Sea and Suez Canal has made it a coveted ally for countries like the UAE and Russia, countries that are seeking influence in the Horn of Africa for trade and political ambitions. The UAE has built a military base with secret prisons in the port of Assab, off Eritrea's southern coast. As the world celebrates the peace deal between the African neighbours, millions of Eritreans are still waiting to see if life will change for the better. Priyanka, Gupta, Al Jazeera.